Giannis Antetokounmpo in the Warriors? That's what we're discussing regarding these rumors. But before we start the video, leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any Warriors news. If you've been watching the NBA for more than 5 minutes, you've heard this one before. What if Giannis ends up on the Warriors? Pops up every year, like clockwork. Trade deadline coming? Giannis rumors. Bucks lose a big game? Giannis rumors. Warriors look a piece away? You guessed it, Giannis rumors. And look, as an NBA fan, I get it. On paper, it sounds insane in the best way possible. Giannis attacking the rim with Steph Curry stretching the floor? That's straight-up 2K stuff. Defenses would be cooked. No help defense, no answers. From a basketball nerd perspective, it's easy to fall in love with the idea. But here's where we gotta slow down and be real for a second. Most of this talk is NBA Twitter energy, not front office reality. There's a huge difference between this would be fire and this is actually happening. And right now, the Giannis to Warriors conversation lives way closer to fantasy than facts. Let's start with Giannis himself. The dude has been pretty clear over the years. He talks about loyalty, about building something, about winning in Milwaukee. People love to say, yeah, but every star says that. True, we've heard that before. But here's the thing, there's been zero smoke from Giannis camp. No leaks, no passive-aggressive quotes. No, I'll see what happens energy. Nothing. And in today's NBA, silence usually means stability. Now, from the Bucks side, it's even simpler. You don't trade a player like Giannis unless things are completely broken. Not shaky, not disappointing, broken. And we're not there. Milwaukee might not look perfect, but they're not blowing it up either. Trading Giannis would mean hitting the reset button entirely, and teams don't do that lightly, especially not with a top 5 player in the league. So why does Golden State keep getting dragged into this? That part actually makes sense. The Warriors are in a weird spot. Steph is still Steph, but everyone knows the clock is ticking. Every contender with an aging superstar gets linked to massive moves. It's the price of being relevant. And the Warriors' history of bold decisions just fuels the narrative even more. But here's where fans sometimes ignore the ugly details. The money doesn't just work itself out. Giannis is on a monster contract. To even make the salaries match, Golden State would have to gut its roster. We're talking multiple rotation players, young assets, picks, the whole thing. At that point, you're not adding Giannis to a strong team. You're rebuilding the entire structure around him and Steph and hoping it somehow holds. And honestly, that's where I personally start to side-eye the rumor. Because the Warriors haven't shown signs they want to go full all-in, no future mode just yet. They've been trying to thread the needle, stay competitive now without nuking everything later. A Giannis trade would be the opposite of that. So yeah, the rumor keeps trending. It gets clicks. It dominates podcasts. It blows up timelines. But when you strip away the hype and look at the actual situation, it's hard to say this is anything more than NBA fan fiction with elite production value. Right now, the truth is uncomfortable for people chasing chaos. There's no real momentum, no real negotiations, no real indication this is close. It's a fun conversation. It's not a real one, at least not yet. So if the Giannis to Warriors rumor isn't real right now, the real question becomes why it keeps coming back every single year. The answer isn't complicated. The NBA runs on pressure, timing, and fear of missing a closing window. Golden State is a perfect example of that. Stephen Curry is still playing at an elite level, but everyone watching knows the margin for error is shrinking. When a franchise reaches that stage, every big name becomes part of the conversation, whether it makes sense or not. Giannis represents the ultimate safety net in those discussions. He's dominant, durable, and still in his prime. Fans look at him and think, add that guy and everything is fixed. From a distance, that logic feels right. But front offices don't operate on vibes. They operate on leverage, contracts, and long-term consequences. That's where this rumor starts to fall apart. From Milwaukee's perspective, There is no incentive to move Giannis right now. Teams don't trade top 5 players unless the situation is beyond repair. Disappointing playoff exits aren't enough. Frustration isn't enough. There has to be a clear signal that the relationship is breaking. Giannis hasn't given that signal. In fact, his public comments continue to point in the opposite direction. He talks about accountability, about getting better, about winning where he is. In the modern NBA, when a star wants out, there's usually noise. Right now, there is none. Golden State's side of the equation is just as important. Even if Giannis somehow became available tomorrow, the Warriors wouldn't be negotiating in a vacuum. They would be competing with teams that have more draft capital, younger cores, and fewer financial constraints. Any deal that brings Giannis to the Bay would require a massive roster teardown. At that point, you're not just adding a superstar, you're reshaping the entire identity of the team. That's not a decision you make based on desperation alone. There's also the uncomfortable truth that fans don't love talking about. Big trades don't guarantee stability. A roster built around 2 massive contracts leaves little room for error. One injury, one bad matchup, one thin bench, and suddenly the championship dream turns fragile. Front offices see that risk clearly, even if fans choose to ignore it in favor of the highlight reel version of the idea. The media plays a role in keeping this rumor alive as well. Giannis to Golden State is a perfect headline. It sparks debate, drives engagement, and keeps both fan bases emotionally invested. But repetition doesn't equal legitimacy. Just because a rumor is loud doesn't mean it's real. Often, it just means it's convenient. So when everything is stripped down to the facts, the conclusion isn't dramatic. It's actually pretty boring. Giannis is still committed to the Bucks. The Warriors are still balancing the present with the future. And there is no real mechanism pushing these two paths together. Could that change one day? Absolutely. The NBA shifts fast. One playoff collapse or one internal shift can rewrite everything. But as things stand, this rumor exists far more in imagination than in negotiation. For now, Giannis to the Warriors remains what it has always been. A conversation that feels huge, sounds exciting, and ultimately leads nowhere.